MRC vocational rehabilitation counselors and high school personnel can support a student's vision toward employment and independent living. The following video will highlight key ways to form a successful partnership.
So we actually get asked a lot about our relationship and our communication and how do we communicate. Do we use email? Do we talk on the phone? Do we text each other? How do we maintain our relationship? And I think we do all of it. We do a piece of everything. We set aside time to meet together and just kind of go over who we have in common at the time, just so we can keep up to date with everything. Because there sometimes is so many kids, it's such a big school system that it's hard to kind of keep track of everybody, and that's why we developed the spreadsheet.
Where we fill in information, you know, when we've done 688 referrals, that gives us the ability to then, it opens up the lines of communication between us and the schools and MRC and vice versa. It's that constant communication and feeling like you can just reach out at any time. Another thing that I facilitate with Laurie and the other counselors in this office is getting paperwork on the students over to MRC, which is so critical in order for students to get qualified to become clients, consumers of the agency. So that's another area that I will then be the kind of the hub for.
We've done a lot of things to try to get the word out to the different staff that work at the high school, and there's also, in addition to the high school, there's also alternative schools in Brockton that we work with as well.
A few years ago we did a presentation together where Laurie came in and talked to those counselors about mass rehab services, gave out literature, and the counselors were so interested and just excited about that resource for their students on IEPs.
So we work together with the transition specialists at Attleboro High School to coordinate meetings with our students here. We set up monthly meetings with our students, and we really try and be here on a consistent basis.
One thing that's important is that we contact the transition specialist 1 week ahead of time before our meetings and let her know which students we want to meet with, which ones we want to check in with, and intake. And so she sets up a schedule for us, including the name of the student with the name of the case manager, the room that the student's supposed to be in. And so we know all the information about the student for when we plan to meet with them. So typically we always meet at the Nurses Health Conference Room, and so the students know where we're going to be meeting, and all of the staff at the school know where we're going to be meeting, including the staff at the front desk and the nurse and the nurse's secretary. So that really works well for consistency in terms of making sure that everyone knows where we're going to be and they can access us whenever they need us. Typically, after we meet with the student, during our monthly meetings, what we do is we send a summary back to the transition specialist about each student and what happened during that meeting, so we have constant communication.
So as the vocational counselor assigned for Agawam, I visit the school about 3 to 4 days a week. I'm here a lot. Yeah. To make sure that I can follow up with students and staff on different pieces that we're working on in relation to their transition to what comes after high school. So graduation is a big goal that most high school students have, but between MRC's initiatives for transition and Agawam's own internal initiatives to help students launch into their careers or college path, we get to collaborate and really work with students to make sure they have a good plan for their transition. Another great part about the collaboration with Agawam is when I'm trying to track down paperwork from a student or get them to follow up, the Special Services Office has a basket that they collect different documents for me, which sounds very simple, but makes the collaboration process so much easier, where I can say, okay, go to Special Services, please, and let them know you need to put this in the bin for Melissa, and they will make sure I get it when I'm out at the school the next time. And something as simple as that really just increases the collaboration with your school. So it's really great to have one point of contact with Agawam High School, and that way if I have a question or a concern, I'm able to reach out to Sheila and she can look into it for me and get back to me. We tend to do that quite often via email. I think that's just our preferred method, but voicemail also works. It's become much easier for MRC and Agawam schools to kind of understand where the cases are at, where the students are at, and what needs to happen by having that one person point of contact on both sides of the relationship.
In that, I actually try to keep the communication going almost in a triangle way, so the family and the client are also in, I'm constantly trying to include them email-wise in the communication, as are you, so that I think sometimes when students start working with MRC, it's a little comforting for them to see my name connected to it as well, because you're still new to them. They don't yet have that relationship. They hear me talk about it. They hear me talk about it. They hear me talk about it, and then eventually my name can wean off. By the end, I'm not as important. But at the beginning, it's pretty important that I be part of that initial communication as much as possible, because I think it makes students and families feel more comfortable.
I think too, we really present to our families that we are a team. So if we have a student participating in a pre-ETS program and doing an internship in the community who needs support in some way, they might tell me, and then I might call Melissa, and we can collaborate on how best to support that student.
The following tips will help support successful partnerships between MRC staff, students, and schools. The better MRC and schools can work together, the more successful the students will be. For more information on MRC and the services available for students and youth, visit mass.gov/MRC.